Before we go, though, my colleague Pakwesi Asare is in the offices of John Peter Mewu to find out the current developments about PDS's takeover of ECG and all the developments. Let's go over and listen to that conversation.
Since then, I'm here this afternoon in the office of the Energy Minister, John Peter Mewu, to help us understand what went into the decision taken by government. Thank you very much, Mr. Peter Mewu, for your time. You're live on TV3. So, we had that announcement, the suspension of the contract of PDS. How did you arrive at this decision?
Well, thank you and good afternoon to your listeners. The decision to suspend the concession agreement between ECG and PDS is as a result of some material evidence that seems to conclude that the payment security, which ought to have come from PDS, was not well executed and therefore being considered as fraudulently done. On that basis, government think it's important to quickly hold on the assets of Ghanaians, because don't forget, this is a major asset that we have transferred, and if such a fraudulent activities have been detected, it's proper government takes on action, and that's why government has taken this action to suspend the deal for now while further investigations continues.
Now, it's pretty interesting to hear the word fraud in such a big contract like this, a contract that involves over $500 million of the American state government's money to Ghana. Now, some have questioned the due diligence that went into this contract. You think they have a case?
Oh, yes, of course. Don't forget, and it's the due diligence that have established this by government. The due diligence is an ongoing process. Don't forget, there are conditions subsequent and condition precedent to this contract. And so the due diligence process is an ongoing process. And that is where we have been able to establish this element of fraud, of course, which is yet to be validated. But whilst we wait for the validation process, government have taken this action to secure the assets. Yeah.
PDS itself says it's going to remain calm. It's issued a statement a couple of minutes ago responding to the decision by government to suspend their actions. Will this come at any cost at all to government or to PDS?
That would be very difficult for me to quantify it and justify it in terms of any cost estimate. PDS may have undertaken some investment decision in terms of their operational activities, branding, rebranding, and all those sort of things. But that is a responsibility of PDS. I mean, government had not actually, during this period, put in any amount of money. The danger is the second tranche of the facility. That, of course, is what we all need to see. Whether it will be threatened as a result of this discovery or findings. But I think what the MCC and the MIDA authority needs to be aware of is the fact that government has, taken a decision, and of course it's government's effort that has led to this. And so I think they will be quite happy.
Mr. Minister, what's the worst that could happen in this contract? You've told them to hold on, you're investigating, so there's a suspension. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, I see three scenarios. Number one, let's say that the letter which is coming from the court claiming that the payment security is fraudulently done and that they have nothing to do with it, and the officer responsible for that had already been suspended, and therefore they are taking the issue seriously. If that decisions have been concluded, then of course that automatically will lead to a termination of the concession. That is number one. Number two is that if government take a decision to terminate without validation, there may be some consequences. And that is why government do not take that second option. Now, the third option, it's if it has been found out that, of course, the payment guarantee of the security have been well executed, and Al-Quds, which is the executing company, had accepted responsibility for it, and there have been some element of consideration, then of course the process will continue. But as we are here now, we've not getting that kind of indication from Al-Quds, and that is why government is suspending the process. So these are the scenarios that I think may emerge yeah.
But essentially what you're saying is that a prima facie case has been made against PDS.
Precisely. As we speak now.
And is the president aware of this?
Who?
The president.
The president of the Republic of Ghana, yes, of course. He will need to be briefed, and he's aware. We've had some engagement with him. Yes, please.
So I know it's pretty short, but what are the timelines? How long is this investigation going to take? In the meantime, ECG has been asked to take, over. What happens next?
Well, ECG, it's going in now as a distributor, as they used to do, just to make sure that we have stable power supply without any disruptions. With regard to the time period for concluding and coming to a conclusive evidence of a detection of fraud, because the word fraud had been mentioned, that again goes to the security agencies to take that. So I would not be in a position to know how long it's going to take the security agencies to come up with it. But what I know for sure is also a government delegation that's also been put together with the MEDA to travel to Qatar, the resident office of this executing company, to have some kind of high level.
All right, so definitely stay with TV3. We'll bring you more of that interview in our subsequent bulletins.